Wow, I'm so excited to interview you, Vicki, today. I think it has been a while. For the people that don't know, we actually did a summit, Lighten Up Summit, about 2 years ago, and a lot
Yep.
has changed since then. But I always love interviewing Vicki because she knows so much about raw food, about energy medicine, and just love working with her, and I actually have tasted her food as well. So anyway, so today I'm so excited to be able to talk to you again. And so first of all, I want to say, in this podcast, in this show, the theme is really about women empowering other women. So I love to interview other creative entrepreneurs that I find inspiring, and I love their work, and I like to share with the world and asking questions that I personally want to know, as well as I think it will help others on their own transformation journey. So without long ado, I just want to introduce everyone Vicki Cook. She's a great friend and colleague of mine, and she's an energy medicine practitioner. She coaches people personally, as well as running workshops, and she's a raw food teacher. She do many things. So, and we all have evolved. So you better hear from her firsthand what's happening in the moment. She always brings me new information and knowledge, which is one of the reasons why I love talking to her. It's not just about one thing. It's never just about raw food. There's always a deeper meaning behind it, and it's the same as the way I do my thing. Is that I may be talking one thing, but a lot of times that you have to, really think about it deeply, it's actually lead you to many other surprising places. So, well, I guess I shouldn't keep people waiting, guessing. But I also want to say, I noticed that you have a new tagline about reclaiming your life through food, coming home with yourself. And I mean, I haven't talked to you for a while, but I'm guessing there's a lot to do with changing our perception about our relationship with food, and really getting to know us in a deeper level, maybe through food and our reaction to food. So, but this is just my guess. So you tell us a little bit more about, I think, first of all, tell us what you mean by reclaiming your life through food. And I know you talk about metaphors, so tell us.
Well, I'm really interested. I'm really excited to be talking to you today, Suing. So it's reclaim your life. Oh, so come home to yourself and reclaim your life. And what that really is about is coming back and being able to tap into your intuition, your soul, your guidance system. Because with really tapping into your guidance system, then when you can listen to that and act from that space, you can reclaim your life. So we start to, growing up, we look at external validation. We get external validation. And this is through childhood into adult life. Should I be doing this? Oh, you should be going to university and studying X, Y, and Z. Oh, don't become this type of person. You won't earn a lot of money. If you want to earn money, this is what you should be doing. So there's all this external validation about what we should and shouldn't be doing, and we lose our connection to our inner guidance system. And then we start to live for that external stuff. And I mean, we've got so many, sayings like keeping up with the Joneses and all that sort of stuff. And it's all this external feedback that we're working towards. But if we're living externally, we're not nourishing ourselves. What really lights ourselves up? What's our inner spark wanting, our inner guidance system? We're all here for a reason. We're not, my belief is we weren't born at this time just to get up, go to work, pay the bills and eventually drop dead. There's a reason. We all have a gift to give to the world, to the universe. But we'll only find out what those gifts are is by tuning back in. And then by tuning in, we can reclaim our life. So we can then stop feeling like, for myself, there's been a length of time where I've felt that other people, other situations, other environments had the control, and I had no control in my life. And it's a bit like, I use the word author. I didn't feel like I was the author of my life. I was just a character in my life. Someone else was telling me, directing me, you know, what to do, and I was just on this stage doing it. Whereas I've taken control back of my life, and it's no, I'm the centre figure. I'm the person in choreographing my life, telling me where I'm going, what I'm doing, and how I'm responding to the external environment.
And your medium of helping people to find out who they truly are is through food, is it? I mean, I remember you talking about craving. Like, I understand that from this context. So, for example, we may have a certain image that we're chasing or we think we should be. And if it is not in alignment with our inner self, I'm guessing the chances that we will maybe crave certain food because, that support the external, image, or I don't know. I think when we're out of balance, we start to crave certain things to compensate that balance. So tell us a little bit more about food craving in that context.
So one of the ways that you can get in contact with your internal world or your internal guidance system is by looking at the food that you're craving, because this is messages from your internal world, or I say it's from your soul, basically. So your soul is really craving something, and we haven't been listening to it. We haven't heard the little knocks on the door, so to speak. So we're getting a real physical craving. And if we are open to and able to see it as this is a message from my soul, and decipher what that craving is, we then realise what our soul is truly craving. So an example from my own past is there was a period of time for about 6 months where I was craving chocolate brochures. So they're a chocolate, they have hazelnuts, they're wrapped in gold wrapping, and they come in a little gift box. And I was craving those, and I would actually eat a huge box in 2 to 3 days, and I just unwrap, pop, and looking at what it was. So chocolate is sweet. So when you're craving something sweet, you're craving sweetness in your life. So that sweet, you're not feeling that your life is sweet, whatever that looks like for you. Chocolate is about love and nourishing, and it's romance. It's about love. If you're when you first get with a partner, you might be exchanging chocolate gifts because you're exchanging that love and saying, I love you, with chocolate. So if you're craving chocolate, it might be that you don't feel that you're receiving that love. Now, it may not be love from an external partner. It may be, are you loving yourself enough? Are you giving yourself that love? With the rochers, they're wrapped in a gold wrapping, so they're very decadent. They're very luxurious. So at that time, I wasn't feeling that I was getting gifts in my life. So, and again, it can be an external person, like your actual physical partnership relationship. There may not be that feeling of connection and gifts. Or it may be, what gifts are you not giving yourself? It might be downtime. It might be, I just need some space. So it's really starting to dig deep into what is it about this item that you're craving, and then looking at it that way, and then going, okay, well, this is how it relates, because it's also a contextual side of things. What's going on in your life at this period of time? And then going, okay, I get what this is all about. And then going, okay, I will look at bringing in more time for myself. I will love myself in, and that might be having a bubble bath and reading a book for an hour. It might be going out and just taking some time in the bush, whatever it is that is a gift and nourishment for you. So there is not one size fits all. And for me, the cravings of the rochers, someone else can be craving rochers, and their meaning and their actual bottom line, so to speak, is going to be different because there's a different context around it and a different meaning around it.
But there would be a common sort of thing, because I heard people say a lot about if people craving for ice cream, it's like love or comfort or something.
It's comfort, yep.
Comfort, and if they're craving for bread, it's I don't know, was it combating fear or something? That tends to be, there is some saying generally going on around those foods.
That's right. There's generalization. So sweets are about sweetness in your life. fats, craving fats, there's a feeling of emptiness. And so, I mean, chocolate also has fat in it. So there's a feeling of emptiness and you're wanting to push that down.
Keep you full, isn't
feel
it?
Full. Yeah. Breads is a comfort food or that sort of thing. And you've got salt, which is about emotions. You've got the texture, so crunching down on chips. That's about anger and, am I able to speak whatever it is that I want to speak? So there's definitely some generalisation side of things. And then it's digging down deeper personally as to what that might mean.
Yeah.
For you.
So like different levels. But it's so funny because when I was pregnant, I was maybe that's a bit different when you're pregnant, but generally I'm craving spicy food. And when I was pregnant, I just every day I wanted to have hot and sour soup, like every day, like Monday to Sunday. And always like, I find maybe it's something about spice in the life or excitement. Yes. I don't know, but I mean, it could be just pregnancy as well.
Well, the other thing is there a context in your childhood in relation to that dish?
So no, not particularly.
Not particularly?
I didn't actually have a lot of hot and spicy soup at home. It's more when I grow up and when I went out to the world that I have more, because it's not a very common thing at home. But I always like spicy, but particularly when I was pregnant. My husband, actually I had to hide from my husband because he thinks that I'm going to give him a very angry and hot and chili pepper child. So anyway, but it's fascinating. But I also I heard you talked about metaphors and the X seasons before. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
So the food has metaphors, like we were talking about, but also the seasons that we go through, there's metaphors as well. So most people are familiar with the 4 seasons, so summer, autumn, spring and winter. But there's actually 4 extra seasons. They're called transitional seasons. So there's winter and there's a transitional season into spring, and it's either known as midwinter or it's known as Ilmok. And then from spring to summer, there's another season, which is called Beltane. From summer to autumn, it's called Lammas. And then from autumn to winter, it's called Samhain. And this basically makes the wheel of life. And everything that we go through is cyclic. So we're born, we grow, we mature, we grow old, and we die. And then, so there's this cycle of birth, growth, death in everything. We get into a relationship, that's like the birth of the relationship, and it matures. Then there could be some challenges in the relationship, and there's a death in the relationship in regards to the way that you used to be doing the relationship dies. And so you've got to look at a new way of doing this relationship. And so we're just cyclic. But with the metaphors of the seasons, each season has a different meaning or a group of meanings. So if we can look at those meanings, we can then look at where are we in relation to a specific area in our life. So winter is about hibernation, going within, stillness, pause. It's also a time of great fear for our ancestors because they didn't know if they were going to have enough food to continue on and actually see the spring. Then you've got Ilmok, which is the first buds of new life starting. So there's the possibility and the hope. And then you've got spring, where there's everything starting to blossom and grow. And so this cycle continues round. And so if there's an area of your life and because the Western society is all about do, action. We must keep going. That's summer. That's the masculine energy. But to balance that, there needs to be times of reflection, stillness, pause, which is the winter energy. So if you're feeling like in growing a business, you're not moving forward, everything seems to be stuck. Maybe this is a time of reflection of what's not working anymore. Is there areas in your business that need to be pruned and let go of? Or is there areas in your business which are dying because you've grown and changed? And so these areas need to be let go of, which is autumn, because you're becoming a new businesswoman in a new area. The way you did business 5 years ago would be very different to the way you're doing business now. So there would have been areas that you've let go of because you've evolved.
Yeah, it is really interesting because this cyclic thing is exactly what I also, part of my book, talk about the women's cycle of life. But I talk about it slightly differently. I talked about it as in, the spring will be the maiden. So you're a young girl becoming a woman. And then when you become a woman, when you mature, you like the summer is like, full grown like women. And then you may become a mother, and then how in traditionally you've got triple goddess, which is maiden, mother, crone. And I didn't like crone because it sounds like those scary women. And also I think nowadays we actually have another stage because, now our lifespan expectancy is much longer. So I added a stage called Matriarch. So maybe your children are old enough to leave home, they are going to university, or if you even don't have children, after a certain time pass, your career at a certain stage, you were kind of in your golden years, which I said the autumn is the golden years, where you have more resources and experience and wisdom, is your wisdom years. So you actually can do a lot. Nowadays, that's, I think, a lot of women out there who are maybe the CEOs, political leaders are in their golden years, which are the autumn or the matriarch, I call it. And then we go to the wise women, which is the winter, which is you may step back, you'll be the mentor, you may not be the fun runner, you may not be the leader on stage, which is, what you said, is time for pruning. And when you prune, you let go of the things you don't need. You're also nurturing new life to come. And I see it as in, say, grandmother, older women, helping the younger generation to rise. It is still a cycle. And women have that thing about collaborating, nurturing one another. Like what we're doing here is that I think we're sharing story or things that we know for sure, in fact, to help others that who maybe are not quite sure about themselves, or in a discovery phase, or they're looking for inspiration. It's about women empowering women. Sometimes we're just a tiny step ahead of someone else, but they can share something which is very valuable at this stage. And when you talk about your cycle, it could be like in different time. It could be 10 years or within a year that people will go through the 4 seasons. But the life is cyclical, as she said. And how does the food will come into play during this season perspective?
Well, it will depend on where you are in the season in your life. And then it will depend on what you're craving. So it's looking at both areas, and then going, okay, what does this, distilling down, and what does this actually mean for you? And so this is where it's coming. I can give you some structure around it, but the client has to go within and find actual answers themselves, because it's all very personal. So that's where the structure comes in about, sweet is craving for sweetness. But what is it about that sweetness? I know what sweetness means for me, and what I need to do to bring sweetness into my life. And that's sort of, a bushwalk, bubble bath, just some time out. But that may not be sweetness for someone else. Sitting in a bubble bath might be completely not sweet for them. So, but something else. So this is where really digging down for themselves.
So, but how does it work? Like when you talk about, you give people a structure, but they have to self-reflect. And I totally subscribe to the idea that you can give people some steps or tools or keys or elements, but they have to sort of write their own chapter in a way, because they have to distill all the information. But in terms of that structure, how does it work with the client? Say I come to you and I say I'm in this stage in my life, and I notice that I'm craving. Does it start with craving, or does it start with what I feel I need, or does it start with what kind of health issues or status I have? How does your structure work in this process?
So it works. So basically the first part starts with a talk to find out where they are in their life, what their challenges are, where they feel stuck, what they're unhappy with, what is working and what they are happy with. So to get an overview of of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on where that first session goes, it may then be looking at, okay, well, let's look at the foods that you're craving. It may be looking at, well, this is sort of where you are in an area of your life. You're in, say, autumn, in an area of great abundance, but it's also time to start looking at, you're going to be going into the winter season of going into reflection and stillness. So how is that going to look when you do transition into that area? What is it that you're going to want to look at? And then also bringing in, looking at their story and what it is about the beliefs and the thoughts and how that is running their life, so to speak, because we've all got it's programming, basically. We've all had programming, and it's these programs that we don't realise are running a lot of our lives. So something happens in the external world and we react to it because that's the programming. This happens, and this tape comes out, and this is how I'm going to react to it. And it's like, well, if we could pause in that moment and go, oh, okay, how do I want to respond as opposed to react to that? Then we start to change our programming. And by changing the programming, we then can change how we move forward in our life.
So what are when the clients come to you, what are usually the sort of the problem or the common pain points? Like, do people come in and telling you that my health isn't well, I don't have energy, I feel overwhelmed, or like I think I can't control my addiction to food, or what are the most common thing you heard from women?
So there's definitely the food related side of things. So they feel out of control, and that's a big area, but the food is their obvious area that they can see that they feel out of control. They may have experienced trauma in their life, and so there's again this sense of being out of control or overwhelmed, and they're not sure how to move forward from this trauma. And so it's both of these areas. It's a sense of lack of control, You use the Matriarch as the
golden
third.
Years.
Yeah, I use it as sovereignty, as the queen. I call it queen. So yes, maiden, mother, and then it's stepping into that queen energy of, I have sovereignty over my life. I have control. Now, control isn't rigid. It's that having that flexibility and movement, but knowing where I'm moving forward to. This is my land. This is my sovereignty, and I rule my life, basically. So I use queen as that energy.
I find it really interesting because in Course in Miracles, it talks about when you have infinite patience, you will see immediate results. And I often think, it just came to my mind when you talked about this control issue, is that I find in my personal life, as well as observing clients at the same time, like what you said, when they come to us, it's when they really want to control. And if they feel they cannot just let go of control, and I'm not saying that they are not willing to be flexible, but they may be fixated about something. And when they are unable to let go, that's when they really want to control, but they feel they don't have it. But when they're actually able to let go, they relinquish the control, they actually feel they have more, they actually then able to attain more control in their life. It's like a divine paradox where when you have infinite patience, then you can have immediate results. But it's obviously easier said than done. When you're in the hot pot of it, then it's hard. Well, I mean, almost annoying when someone come up with that sort of statement. But I found it's so true that, and like you said, people can observe that's the number one symptoms when they're out of control. They have maybe addiction of food or not eating. That's both happens. Some people just eat a lot of certain foods, but then some people just don't eat. And I really know people that they lose a lot of weight really quickly when they're going through that period, because I guess they don't have a healthy relationship with food, and that becomes one of the things they do to react in that way, like acting out. So I found it really interesting. And what are the biggest lessons you have learned in your own journey or helping others through examining this relationship with food, examining the deeper meaning about what we do with life, and as an internal reflection versus looking at the outer, interaction? What are the biggest lessons you have learned?
The biggest lessons, I suppose, that there is a divine plan, and we have to relinquish that control, because if, like you said, fixated on, well, this is how it should look and this is how it should come about, well, if you're so focused on that way, then you're not allowing, I call it universe, God, whatever you want to call it, you're not allowing universe to orchestrate all this other stuff that needs to come into place, and where you're wanting to go could actually be bigger and better and brighter than what you're fixated on. But you have to let go. So that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and I've seen that in clients, that when they can actually let go and be in the flow, it's amazing what can actually unfold in their lives. But it sounds easy, but it's a lot of work, and it's daily work. It's not just, I've done it once and that's it. It's a continual thing that you keep looking at yourself, and where are you, what are you doing, and then the letting go. And by becoming more aware of what your reactions are, then you're able to respond. So for me, one of my, when I start to feel out of control, I'll start to control the food that I eat. I become more, it has to be this way, and very rigid. And when I can step back and go, oh, hang on, you're doing that again. Where in my life do I feel out of control? Because that's my symptom. And then when I can identify where I'm out of control, I can then take steps to let go and allow, and then my eating changes.
What is your very strict one? You mean it's super healthy, or have to be rainbow colors, or like what kind of crazy things?
I will become very rigid in what I eat. It's coming from a place of fear-based eating as opposed to love-based eating. So being 100% raw, I feel is a fantastic way of being, because it really raises your vibration. You're eating an amazing amount of clean food, and I'm really able to connect with my inner guidance. Now, if I'm doing 100% raw, but from a place of love and nourishment, that has a very different energy to, I must be 100% raw, and I must only eat this, and I can't eat that. And that's a very fear-based, restrictive way of eating. So there's a very different energy in those two scenarios. And if I'm doing this restrictive one, and I can only have, it must be green smoothies, and it must be this and it must be that, I know that there's an area in my life I'm not feeling in control. And so I've started to control the way I'm eating. Whereas if I'm feeling expansive and almost tuned in, a green smoothie today would be good, and I'll have these things together, and there's very much a different energy. And I've become quite attuned through the years to recognise the difference. And it's a journey. It's not, and I will continue to learn and grow and journey with this. And what I know in a year's time will be, I have no idea what I'm going to know in a year's time, but because I'm journeying through this, I'll have a deeper understanding of myself than I do now. So So that's where I come
from. So interesting, because I mean, there are a lot of people who force themselves into diet, and some work and some doesn't, and sometimes very short time. Sometimes they could have a very healthy lifestyle and that lasts for ages. And I think a lot of people will, like what you said at the beginning of the interview, they really focus on what we're supposed to do, have, get this, don't do this, rather than thinking about how they are, who they are, how they feel. The being, it's lesser than the doing. So if they actually feel a certain amount of awareness and clarity, maybe they wouldn't have those craving, or like it wouldn't be as hard to eat healthier. Because I think I remember myself that when I was still dancing and competing, there's times that you have to diet because you have to lose that kilos because you're being lifted and they tell you to be lighter and stuff like that. That was harder to lose weight for me than when I'm just feeling good and eating what I feel like, and that weight comes off very quickly. So the being, that the feeling inside, it's so relevant. And what you said, that when you force yourself that you have to be 100% raw from a fear base, I bet in the back of your head is like, oh, I just wanted some of these hot noodle or whatever.
Yep.
So
it's hard work. Whereas when I'm in that love energy, it's easy to eat like that. So for me, that's where the awareness is. Is this hard work to eat like this? And if it's hard work, why is it hard work? If it's easy to it, then it's just I'm in flow.
And I also want to touch on what you said about the way we respond, react. And yes, from time to time you observe yourself, because you are a raw food educator. I'm reacting this way, so something is up. And people have different, indicator, different trigger. They can, if they are self-aware, they would know something is up by observing different type of things. Like some people maybe drop off. Like for me, if I'm not feeling well, I don't feel like exercise. That's very rare, and my husband will ask me what's going on here, because that's not you. So people will figure it out. But I think through all these years of, maybe like some people call it personal development, or we call it spiritual journey, transformation, growth, I think what we gained is that we definitely guarantee we will still have those days where we act like weird. But I think it's the way we react, we respond instead of to react to it, because we can notice, this is happening, so maybe we don't beat ourselves up and figure out what's happening, rather than, oh damn it, I did it again, bad person. Like I think these years of being aware, doing this work, it's really helping us to become more aware and gentler, but also we will respond to it not just softer instead of harsh, but we also can bounce back quite quickly. I think it helps with our resilience. So that's kind of like, it is so intangible, but it's so real.
It's that self-love. If you've got that self-love and that self-compassion, because there is no right or wrong, it's just, this is where I am at the moment and I'm feeling out of control, so I'm controlling this area of my life. So with that awareness, it's like, oh, okay. And so there can be that more gentleness and more compassion, that, oh, okay, that's fine. I use the analogy of chocolate cake. So chocolate cake is neither good nor bad. It just is. It's chocolate cake. But it's how you then approach that chocolate cake. I shouldn't be eating this chocolate cake. I'll quickly eat this chocolate cake. I don't want anyone to see me eat this chocolate cake. So that has that type of energy. Or you sit there with the chocolate cake and go, oh, yum. And you have a mouthful and you enjoy it and you just savor it. How different is that chocolate cake going to be digested by your body? So different. And how different are you going to feel afterwards, those two experiences? And do you think that tomorrow you're going to want chocolate cake again? Possibly because you've eaten it in fear and in that I shouldn't have it, but possibly not the next day when you've just savoured it and gone, oh, this is just fantastic, and I'm nurturing myself. Okay, it's chocolate cake, but this is where I am. And you're at choice. When you feel that you're at choice, you're empowered. I'm going to choose to eat the chocolate cake, or I'm going to choose not to. But there's no right or wrong. It's a choice. And it's a choice in the moment.
Mm. So now, like, we're coming to the sort of the near the end of the interview, and I always
Yep.
like to ask people a couple of things. One of the things is that, what would you say to a younger self? Like, now you're better. I remember when I was younger, I think, oh, by 30, I'll be so wise. I know so much. I've done so much. I'll be like so super. And of course, I was completely immature in my expectation. When 30 was approaching, I was like, oh gosh, what have I done? Nothing. Like, I mean, weird things go through my mind that time. But now I would say to I know what I would say to my younger self. What would you say to a younger self? Like, let's just say early 20 years old. Like, what would you say to a 20-year-old
What would I say to my 20-year-old?
self?
My 20-year-old self. To take more time to pause and to really listen to where I'm being called. To engage my inner child more, to create and play just for the sake of creating and playing, and not because, well, if I create this, it's like I need to create this dessert because it's going to go into my book type thing. It's like, no, just get in the kitchen and create because you want to. Or, you want to play Lego. I'm 20 years old. What's wrong with playing with Lego? You're just creating for the sake of creating. So it would be pause and just create because you want to. There's no, like there's monks and things who do these most intricate, gorgeous pictures with rice or with sand, and they're just creating for the sake of, it's not going to be there forever.
They
it's
blow
just,
it off when they finish.
Yeah, I know. They create, it's finished, and then they blow it, get rid of it. They're just, because they're in there and being in the creative, because we're all creative beings, and this is the thing, we have got stuck in that creativity has to we create for an outcome. No, we don't create for an outcome. We create because we're creative beings. It is part of us. It is such a part of us that if we don't create, it's like we don't have a connection with that. There's a part of us that we are not connecting with. So just create because you can.
Yeah, I know Picasso said that, he believes everybody's a creative when they're born. The problem with us is that we start to unlearn it, become uncreative as we grow up. And looking at my 15-year-old baby, like a childcare, she creates so much and she has so much fun, and there's no purpose per se or outcome or whatever it is, but they stop analyzing. They do what their heart leads them to, and it's a lot harder for us. And okay, it makes sense, we have to do things to put bread on the table, but there are part of us that even 5 minutes to do something creative, or like what you said, you just feel like creating a chocolate cake, and so go to the kitchen and do it, and stop thinking, should that be included in my recipe book or not? I mean, is it relevant? Like, and I definitely appreciate that, because I think so many of us sometimes forget, and then we realize why we feel so stuck.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing I'd like to ask is that, so what do you love about what you do so much now? Like, because I think maybe some of the listener or viewer, maybe at a time in their life, they are, wondering whether they should change the job, or maybe they feel like drawn to, say, studying aromatherapy, or studying, raw food or nutrition, or maybe studying something else completely different, or like become an author. So there are a lot of people maybe in a crossroad. And you as someone obviously have quite a few incarnations, doing quite a few different things in your life, but then now you've really owned your business. You go and educate people through food, and you coach, and you talk about energy medicine. So for someone who maybe aspire to do something similar to yours, what would you say that what you love about what you do now the most? Like, what do you love about your life at the moment?
What I love is the both for myself but also my clients, is to actually see the changes that happen in their life, and that they they have this more sense of purpose and more connection with themselves. And it's almost like that inner light really starts to get lighter and brighter and starts to glow more. I mean, it's always there, but we've just got so much gunk hiding it. And so in what I do, it helps remove the gunk, the layers, and then they really start to step out more and to shine more. And that just, that is so good to see and to be part of that. It's, I can't even think of the words to describe it. It's
know
magic.
What you mean. Yeah, I mean, I have personal, experience, and I can relate. But I also say, in Hero Journey that I talk a lot about, where there's part of the gift from the goddess, right? So sometimes and also you have supernatural aid, like at the beginning, or and I think that's so true, because I think that's one of the things to fuel us to do what we do, because there are times that it is not easy and we're unsure, and sometimes we have take all the mistakes and experience before we can say what we say now, that as if we are in a much better place, and we are, I think. I mean, I feel that let go of those control give me a lot more control in my life right now. And
yes.
And we felt we had those supernatural way ourselves, and we had those gifts from goddess, and to be able to pass it on, to be able to facilitate, or maybe like someone listening to this podcast or watching this video was really needed to hear what Vicki has to say, and it just happens that I facilitated that. That means something to me, because I mean, it's almost that there is this divine intelligence, people call it God, what is it, creator and source, whatever that you feel comfortable with, that put all these checks in the order, and it orchestrated a certain event. So you may not have known Vicki before, you may not have known me before, but somehow our path crossed, and to be able to witness that, it's really cool. And that's why we actually needed people to tell us their experience, their results, because you know for sure, if you help the client, if they tell you, that really mean a lot to us. And sometimes they don't tell you because they're happy and they just do the thing that many of them do, right?
Yep.
So, right, just to close this, I just want to say really thank you so much for all the things you have shared. And you're always a busy girl, so tell us what you're working on, and also how people can contact you if they want to know more about energy medicine, raw food, coaching, and so forth.
Yep. So I'm currently working on a book, which is it's a raw food dessert book. So it's desserts, but it's actually walking the wheel of life. So it's walking through those 8 seasons. Each dessert is related to one of the seasons. There's the metaphors involved. And so that the idea of this book is it's a journeying book. So you can make the desserts, but there's going to be reflective tasks or home play to do, to dig deeper into where you are in regards to that particular season. And there's a story behind each dessert, so that also is in the book.
Wow, so I love it. This is so cool.
So it's not just, I mean, you can treat it as a raw food dessert book if you want to, but there's a whole lot more into it if you really want to start diving more into your own journey. So there's that's my current project at the moment. And then if people want to get in contact with me, my email address is Vicki, Vicki, at inspiredchange.com.au, and my website is www.inspiredchange.com.au. So both ways can get in contact with me. And I'd love to walk with you on your journey.
Great. Thank you so much for today. And I have a feeling that we probably will come back for another episode and talk about your book when it's out. Because I think it really makes a lot of sense. First of all, I'm sure a lot of us love to hear about yummy desserts, but how it relates to our life through the seasons and the story behind it will be very interesting. So keep us in the loop, and I'm sure we will have another chat on that when it's out. So thank you so much, Vicki, for today, and I hope our audience will enjoy it. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much, Suing. It was fantastic to talk to you.